So your club speed is similar to the last one, about 116. And your swing got a bit longer in terms of time.
Right.
Swing time got a bit longer. Last time you had really upward motion and then coming down here. And it was shorter than 800, but now it's about 900, which still is a good backswing speed here. And then, so for the absolute speed, you're obviously above elite man's average, but for your height, you're still
very slow.
Yeah, below elite man's average here.
Right.
So let's see what
would to get onto the average of the normalized club head speed, what would that translate to in the actual club head speed? That would be something like.
So this will be at least like a 5%
right
increase. Then you'll have
yeah.
So
yeah.
You're too tall.
I am. Yes, I am.
So you have a disadvantage in terms of normalized club head speed.
I see what you're saying. Right.
Yeah. Now, top view here. So last time it was really outward.
I remember.
But a lot less now.
Yeah.
So the swing plane is 4 degrees outward. Your hand motion plane is 8.3 degrees outward on the average.
Right.
Then that means that still your hand motion plane is more outward than the swing plane here.
Right.
But an impact because you are hitting upward, so the actual direction of the club head motion is more toward target here. But in general, your hand motion plane are still more outward than the swing plane.
Right.
Then you still maintain the reverse spiral swing pattern.
Correct. No, the reverse spiral swing pattern, though, it's a lot less as the club is shorter for me, isn't it?
When the club gets shorter, then generally the swing plane becomes stiffer and stiffer, so you have less of that. But when it's a flatter, particularly when you try to intentionally drop on this side, then you will see a...
Yeah, because it seems to me that like with like a pitching wedge or a short iron, like I keep the club steep to the plane and above the plane. But then with a driver, it's still that reverse spiral.
So you see in the backswing, the club head is moving along this path here, and then coming down this way here. So we have this gap here. And then, so you have about 4 degrees more outward hand motion plane than the swing plane here.
Right.
That gives, still gives this reverse spiral pattern, but it's a lot less than last time.
Right.
Last time it went, the club head pretty much going this way here. And this also went below the swing plane quite a bit here.
Right.
But now this is still is a steep path.
Right.
But not as steep as the last time. And then this is not going, too much here. But still you have a reverse spiral pattern here. So on the way down, the club head actually goes below the swing plane here.
Right. And like that, so the fact that it's moving that much, that's a fairly major power leak or efficiency leak, yeah.
Particularly when you have, when you drop the club head down here.
Right.
Imagine if I sort of exaggerate this. When your arms and hands are moving above the swing plane here, say you can really throw this, but when you intentionally try to drop the club head here, you're going right.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
You cannot really, swing through.
Yeah.
Rather, you are moving this down and then pushing.
Right. Because one thing I've noticed is like I have a foresight, and so when I'm practicing, with an 8-iron, I've gone from last year my standard 8-iron was like 95.5 miles an hour. That's what it was before I came and saw you, and like now, I'll usually swing at like 101 to 103 for the 8-iron, right? So that's 6-7 miles an hour. But then with driver, it's only like 2-3 miles an hour faster. But with driver, it should be, if I'm 7 miles an hour faster with 8-iron, it should be like
it's
10.
it's not proportional.
It should be like 10 or 11, right?
Yes, you still have this tendency.
It's this, because with pitching or like with an 8-iron, like it's not like that.
So what happens is on the way down here, so when the club is aligned horizontally here, when you draw a vertical line from the right shoulder down here, your elbow is still inside here. Then when you're coming this way here and you try to push out instead of swing through and throw.
Right.
You have a lot more range of motion and possibility of speed increase
Oh, you're saying you can
here.
do this across.
Let it go versus bring this down and then push here.
Right. And how much of that is the hands getting closer to the body versus, like, is it?
So the tendency is because you are tall, you tend to keep the hands really close to the body.
Right.
But you have to practice moving the hands more away from the body.
Right.
Okay.
Because I've tried to stand a little bit further away.
So for your height, the swing plane slope is 54 degrees. This is still a bit steep here, because
Right,
for your
okay.
height it should be 49 degrees.
Really? Okay.
49 or maybe 50 here, but it's still steep because in general you are keeping the ball
What is
closer.
the S versus D?
S is slope, D is direction.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So you're actually an outlier in terms of the height because you're over 2 meters.
Right.
But at this point here, in the setup, your arm is completely down here.
So would you prefer to see?
Move the hands more away here. So bring the arm this way and then club this way here.
Right.
You can
okay.
keep the ball a lot more away from your body.
Right.
And then when the ball goes away from your body, so you sort of be reaching out here, bring
Yeah.
the hands a bit higher here, so your club head can travel that way more.
Right.
From here, when you do the backswing, it's hard to go high or
I see how
low here.
Your arm is naturally rotating this way. So much
But
more.
when it's close to your body here, then you have all sorts of things. You can bring this high up here,
Right.
or if you just spin that it goes flat here,
Right.
you have a lot of possibilities there.
That
More
makes
room
sense.
for
That makes sense.
incorrect
Variability,
motions here.
Yeah.
But when you are reaching out here reasonably, then if you intentionally try to go flat here, it's really awkward here.
Yeah.
Extend it here and then try to bring this close to the body.
Right.
Or from extended position, if you try to lift your arm, again, this is really awkward.
Right.
So typically what you do is going here,
Right.
reasonable path here. But when it's close to the body, you have all sorts of
Right.
things.
Well, that's what I experienced. So like typically you hear people talk about like letting your arms, hang down, right? And we're talking about flattening the swing plane about 5 degrees.
So
of
here-
driver. So
here-
how much further would that be?
So from this if this is your typical position,
Right.
then just bring the hands a bit out here,
Yeah.
and then let the cleaver go more away.
So it's this much.
Yeah, what you have to practice is
Yeah.
see how far you can
Really?
move the
Okay.
ball away.
You're gonna get some interesting looking swing videos from me.
You have
I'll
to.
look like Mo Norman.
Mo Norman, he completely lifted this
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
You still need some angle here,
So okay, yeah.
but not like this. Particularly you are tall and then you are dropping the hand like this, then you have all sorts of things possible.
With a short iron, should it still be like
Even-
is there any club where I should just be letting my arms hang down?
Even
Or
the
everything should
short irons, again, try to move the ball away from your body.
be- Right.
Yeah, you are too tall, and you have. If you bring this down close to the body, what can happen? Easily, your body just can spin here,
Right.
and then the arms are moving up and down
And
here.
do you see a benefit to trying to adjust my posture to match that? Like, am I
Yeah,
trying to get my chest?
when the hands goes a bit higher here, then bring the chest a bit higher here,
Yeah.
and then overall make it flatter here.
Right.
It's not dropping on this side here, but rather lifting here, lifting the end here.
I see.
Try to flatten it here.
Right. And then it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Then
'cause-
you have a long leverage. You have to take advantage of the long leverage, but what
Right.
happens is because you're keeping it too close here,
Right.
you're losing that leverage.
Yeah. I'm trying to play like I'm normal height. Not good.
Yeah, but so when the swing plane becomes too steep, then it's easy to introduce this face motion.
Right.
So when you let it go a bit out, then the face control is done by this motion rather than this.
Right.
When you reach out, it's hard to do this.
Right.
So this is mainly come from this one here. But when it's closed, you have all,
Right.
all sorts of issues. So yeah, the main thing you will probably need to try is move the ball away. You can move this a lot more away from you think,
Okay.
from your
Yeah.
body
No,
than you
yeah.
think.
Okay. We'll see.
And experiment this and see how far you can, move away from the ball.
Right.
And when you reach it to the level it's too far, then start going a bit closer and then find the optimal
Yeah.
position here. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's too close. So when this happens, you have a lot of room for motion going tall here or going flat.
Right.
You can have all sorts of
Right. Because
problems.
like as much as like obviously I've seen my swing on video. Like I know how much I pick the club up with driver, but like I feel like I'm trying to get it on plane. It's not like I'm trying to like, oh yeah, I'll take the club back vertical and then drop it a lot. It's like I'm still trying to.
And
do
also,
that, but
also when you lift this club head up here, then what happens is as you go, your hands are pretty much on the swing plane here.
Right.
You are lifting the club head.
right,
With this, you are creating that steep club head pad.
right,
But actually here, you should have the feel of actually lifting the hands here instead of club head here.
Oh, whoa! Because you're saying, whoa, okay. Because you're saying that basically, like my hands are in so close that it turns into
So
lifting the club head.
this is just going flat, the low here, and then you are lifting club head here.
right,
Then the body motion and the club motion, these are not working together because
No.
you want to promote this motion, but you are introducing this motion here.
right,
But when you move the hands up here, and then let the club head go along the swing plane here, then the club motion and the arm motion are more
right. Because
unified
I
here.
feel like I like almost don't have the ability to like move my forearms in a position and like move my wrists in a position that like keeps the
So
club
here,
flat enough. Whereas from here, it's completely different.
so when you try to move, if the hands are low, you lift this versus
Right,
actually bring the hands higher
right,
so that the hands are free from the body here,
right.
so that it doesn't come down here and they have a stuck elbow issue.
Yeah.
Just from here, let it go. And when you extend this here, you have a long leverage. You can really take advantage of the leverage.
Right.
So when you keep the leverage long, you don't have to generate that much fast rotation because the
Because I can actually.
club speed is radius times the angular velocity.
Right.
So if you have the advantage of a longer radius, then you don't have to increase
Yeah.
the angular velocity that much.
Right. I have the potential for a long radius.
Yeah, but it looks like your club and body are moving, separately. So,
Agreed.
so you're not really taking advantage of the body motion to promote the club motion here. And then lifting here, and all you do is intentionally try to drop this here. It's already too far down here relative to the swing plane.
Right.
And then instead of really throwing it faster here, you have to wait until the hand comes down.
Right.
When the hand comes down here, all you can do is just to push this here.
Yeah.
Instead of from here, in one action, from here,
And
throw.
that's also, and like, yeah, and that is the same thing that's holding back, like why my hand plane is further right and then the club gets released left a bit, correct?
So your swing plane is severely outward,
Right.
and it goes out, and this
Right.
happens.
And so just getting that
So,
set up.
so you see you have this large deviation here.
Right.
And also this pattern will give you excessively large finish motion here.
Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of effort later.
Right.
Imagine you are throwing a frisbee here,
Yeah.
forehand throw. So when you try to throw the frisbee here, when you follow this path here and then just to throw hard versus you drop this and try to push. In terms
Yeah.
of throwing, this dropping and the pushing does not
not
really
good,
does
no.
not really show a throwing motion.
It's like trying to catch something by reaching out to the elbow.
Down and then push versus from here, wait and then
Yeah.
in one action.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So particularly when you have a lot of off-flame motion, then you're wasting a lot of energy.
Right.
So typically what I want to see is that in the backswing, the club head actually moves along the swing plane and goes up and a nice looping motion here coming down.
Right.
Instead of go high and the excessive
Right.
shallowing motion.
Yeah.
And also, when you have this shallowing motion, club head is dropping. Club head is dropping here, right? In this one here, when we look at this in the swing plane view, this is a swing plane view here. So backward and then coming down here, you have this motion here.
Right.
In terms of wrist motion observed on the swing plane, you have an early transition to uncocking here.
Right.
You're not actually delaying this.
Right.
Although you
Yeah.
think by dropping this, you are maintaining the
Yeah, I
lag.
remember this was a big takeaway from that first
Yeah.
time. Was
But
how much it-
in the swing plane view, actually gives an uncocking effect here
yeah.
when you try to drop this.
Right.
So when you go high and then reasonably dropping here, so that at the top, the club becomes more or less parallel to the ground. In that case, you can have a good down cocking.
Right.
But when you drop it too much, when you drop this too much, it gives an uncocking effect.
Right.
So your uncocking starts even.
And that's that. So that uncocking effect though is really because like the plane of, with the club being as vertical as it is, and then the
So
twisting shallow.
you go along the swing plane, and then the club head goes a bit higher here, and then just looping this, and then coming toward the swing plane. This is okay, but when you try to go more than
Right.
that, when you intentionally drop this, when you have a layoff alignment, the club head actually goes that way, so it gives
Right.
an uncocking effect.
So the root cause of this though, you think is like the root cause of this though is still standing too close to the ball, and then my hands
You're
club moving in two
lifting
different
this up,
directions.
and then have a lot
Right.
of off-plane
So this
motion.
is the result of that.
So you see, this is the wrist angular velocity here, the pink line here.
Yes.
This is elite man's average. You are way below.
Way below.
Although the club angular velocity is, at the elite man's average,
Right.
and then now because you have the advantage of a taller
Right.
body, so this will translate to a bit higher club head speed, linear speed, but your wrist angular velocity is not reaching the elite man's average because you start uncocking early because of this motion here.
Right.
So this, when you drop this too much here, actually you have uncocking and then just the pushing here.
Right.
Instead of go up and then just reasonably drop here, so they still maintain parallel position here. And then coming down this way here, instead of dropping and then, so you let the club head go down and go around.
Right.
When you bring the club head this way, you can throw it really hard.
Right.
But so you're not using your wrist that way.
Right.
And then could it be your club? If you feel the club is a bit too heavy, then instead of throwing this faster here, you will try to drag it here.
Right. That's something Jay and I were actually chatting about a little bit. We're chatting at different shafts because, yeah, I've used kind of like gone back and forth between a couple different driver shafts, mostly using the one I was using today. But the other driver shaft, I can't quite get it to spin enough if my club head speed's not a little bit higher than it is right now. But the other one, the balance point is closer to the handle where like the club feels like it's not pulling so hard that way on me.
So currently your swing weight is about 450 something. So there will be probably this D5, D6.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when the club head is heavy, you cannot really throw this. So then instead of using the wrist,
Right.
what you'll do is you will drag it.
Right.
And in dragging, there are two patterns. One is you pull this down, and then body jumps and then going this way here.
Right.
This is typical junior player
Right.
swing. Another way is turning the body early,
Right.
and then keeping this behind, and then so you have a stuck elbow.
Yeah.
But when you go with a bit lighter club, then you can easily let it go.
Right.
Then if you can use your wrist well here, because you have a long leverage here, when you use this really well, you can increase the speed quite a bit.
Right.
But the problem is near the impact, if you look at your body posture, you keep dragging, drop this and then pushing and dragging here. Look at your elbows.
It's very cramped, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot really take advantage of that.
Right.
So keep the ball away and then practice.
Because like obviously like I like have as you said, I was like see my swing on video. I know it looks very cramped at the ball, especially with the long clubs. But I've always like tried to get that within keeping my hands pretty close to my body, and like I haven't made that much progress. Right?
So
to change that setup.
So what you have to experiment is keep the ball away from your body and bring the hands a bit higher. If necessary, you can move the body up a little bit.
Right.
Okay, adjust the spine angle instead of bring this down and then leaning here, more going this way here. And from there, near the impact, try to keep the lead arm more extended here. Right. You can really take advantage of the long leverage.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, your wrist is not doing enough job here.
Right.
Could be because of a heavy club,
right.
Or because of your swing pattern. But so what we see is that it's not as bad as last time. Last time the club head was almost going this way here, but it's not too bad. But still, this has to go more this way here, and then go above the swing plane, and then coming down toward the swing plane here. Right. So that means when you practice the swing, particularly having the visual target a bit farther away from your body, as you swing, your main motion should be more on-plane motion rather than the off-plane motion. Right. So reduce the off-plane motion and more promote on-plane motion. Right. And for that, it's really important to flatten the swing plane a little bit and then let the ball go more away from your body. So that way, if the ball is here, then swing plane goes this way here, then it will be reasonable. And then center mass motion, so it's moving away, going up and down and up here, but it doesn't have enough motion toward the target here.
That's completely different than it was last time, though.
It seems.
Like, yeah, last time it was. Yeah.
But you need to have more motion. So usually we go about 5 centimeters away. Then your final position is about 10 centimeters here at impact. So you need perhaps another 2 or 3 inches motion toward the target. Okay. So, but when you drop this here, just a push. You don't really need to do this. In order to throw this actively here, you have to have more lateral motion here. Right. So yeah, this is a bit different from the last pattern. Pelvis motion here. So you're turning to the right more than turning left at impact here. So basically it's biased to this side here. You're turning this way more in the backswing. Okay. I want to see a more balanced turn of the pelvis. This red line, if it's here, then the red line should reach this point here at impact.
So that's how much, that's like literally that's just like my peak
pelvis rotation here.
So I get a big hip turn this way.
You have you're close to 60-degree rotation here, but impact is about 30 degrees here. Because when your swing plane is more into out, then there's no reason to turn.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you can bring this down and then you're pushing and then going high up here. Right. So you're going into out, so no reason to turn this way. But again, if you emphasize more on-plane motion and then bring the plane a bit flatter here and turn this way and then maintain this motion here, then the pelvis turn will be also balanced.
Right. That makes sense.
And also, if I remember correctly, then the up and down motion, initially, last time you went up and then coming down here. But now it stays and coming down. This is normal.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's becoming more normal. Now, this pelvis motion away and toward. Up until this point, you are not returning to initial position here. But you have to move away and then coming back, recenter,
Yeah.
recenter around here. So around
sorry.
5.
What is that actually?
So this green line is away and toward motion.
Like
Pelvis.
So laterally away and
Yeah,
toward
yeah,
the
yeah.
target. Yeah.
So initially it's decreasing. That means you are moving away, your pelvis away.
Right.
And then about here, it has to return to the initial. So this is the initial position, 0 here.
Yes.
And this is when the club head starts moving.
Okay.
So already you have away motion here.
Yep.
Before
Do
the
you like that? Yeah.
Your body has to move.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the club head starts moving here. Then you have away motion. And then you need to have a good recentering motion around here so that your pelvis moves away and then recenter here during the backswing.
Right.
But you're not recentering early. So once the downswing starts, this is top of action here. Downswing starts, then you're coming back to the initial position. So that's why you're not moving toward the target that much.
Get closer to
So here,
0
so here,
earlier.
in order to turn this way more, then you have initial shift away, and as the backswing progresses, you have this recentering motion.
Right.
Then turn around here.
So I need to do two things. I need to go both. Because you said I need to go more away and towards the target?
No, away motion is okay.
The
This
way
is
it's just towards.
this is
but I need
reasonable.
more
Yeah.
towards.
You have to initiate the toward the motion early, and then by the time you reach 5, this is end of pelvis rotation here. Pelvis rotation completes at this point here.
Right.
About here, you have to return to the initial position.
Okay, so when I reach full pelvis rotation, I should be at the
About
initial.
about here, and then
displacement.
it keeps
That's
moving.
helpful.
It keeps moving toward the target, but you are not moving your pelvis toward the target that much.
Right.
If you are busy of doing this here,
Right. That makes sense.
pushing this.
Right. But I'm really looking for basically the same amount of displacement on both sides.
So this one, the rotation. If this is balanced,
Oh, pardon me. Same.
if this is balanced, then you will see this going more toward target.
Right.
Because as the pelvis turns, you will have to move the center of mass toward the direction you are turning to.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So if you turn more here, then this will go up here. The green line will go up.
Right.
So you have bias to this side here,
Yeah.
not turning this way
But
enough.
the effect of all of that would be to eventually get to where my maximum displacement away from the target is going to be about the same as my maximum displacement towards the target, correct?
But actually you are shifting the pelvis toward the target a lot more, actually.
Oh, actually more. Okay.
Yeah, because you have a lot more active swing. You turn, and then
Right,
eventually
right,
you will stand on the lead side here. So
Right.
you will shift a
Do
lot
you mind
more.
just showing the center of mass one more time, just as we were talking about this? Right. Okay. So now I see what you're saying. Where it's like I'm
So
almost going more away than towards.
So it's almost a balance there, because this is the initial position here
Yeah.
at the setup. You're moving away this much and going toward this much. This is a bit more than this one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has to go
And that
more.
needs to be more.
The center mass has to go more this way here. That means the pelvis has to shift
Right. Okay.
toward target more.
That makes a lot of sense. That's very helpful.
Dropping is good. This dropping allows you to push the ground hard,
Right.
but you also need to have enough lateral motion. Remember, we have a wide stance here. That means we have more room for motion in the lateral direction. You have to take advantage of that.
Yeah. And do you like where my stance width is right now?
I think your stance is reasonable. It's not too wide. It's not too narrow for your height here. So particularly when you have this, wide stance, then you have to take advantage that you move laterally more.
Right.
Yeah, here. Basically, what you see here at this stage is the body is not moving that much toward the target, but you have an arm and club motion here. Basically, here you're dropping this and then try to pull this.
Yeah.
This is the main motion at this stage, instead of shifting here and then throwing the
Right.
arms and club toward the target.
Right.
So when you run this back and forth here, going up, and then as you turn, you will see that your body is not shifting toward the target that much.
Right.
And then, so the pelvis motion, and then X factor. X factor pattern is similar to the last one here. So you keep going all the way here. Kinematic sequence. The transition sequence is also similar to our last pattern here. But if you look at this one here, in terms of the backswing sequence is based on the peak angular velocities here. These are happening too early here.
Too early. Okay.
Pelvis peak angular velocity occurs about here. So from here to 6, this is the backswing.
Yeah.
But then pelvis peak occurs about here. So it's about 1/3 of the backswing time here. It's too early.
Okay.
This has to be more at the center of the backswing here.
Okay.
You have to delay this. And then so this is pelvis, thorax, and then shoulders here. These are all happening before the half time, right? In the backswing.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the arms are quite delayed, and your club reaches peak angular velocity here. The arms reach peak angular velocity here. So these are switched. That means you're promoting this wrist cock here before your arm is moving. So actually, earlier I said to try to lift the hands here.
Yeah.
Lift the hand and then throw the club around here instead of hands go here and you're lifting this up here.
Right.
Because it is a lifting motion, the club gains angular velocity early, so it reaches peak angular velocity maybe about here. But your arms reach peak angular velocity later here.
Right.
So by lifting this, you are promoting early club motion. But instead, by lifting the hands and then let the club just go around your body, using the momentum, throw, and then go to this position here.
Right. So I need to wait longer to turn my hips, but I also need to
So this is
get my hips
early, quick
moving left
spinning action here.
Right. So basically, right now I'm like turning too much early, and then I'm waiting too long
So
to go this way.
It's more like this. You have early, quick action.
Yeah.
The hands, because of this quick turn here, the hands are just following this path here, then lifting here.
Yes.
Instead, shift here and then throw this away from your body.
Right. And so it's that
Shift and throw.
Right. So it's that shift, and the fact that this is staying square for longer. That's what's delaying
So
into the pattern.
in your image, you're just shifting away and then just throw. Then later, it will turn and then reach the peak angular velocity.
Right. Okay. So, but most of my turning is actually happening
Early.
as I'm
Early,
getting closer.
And you have this motion here. That's why the hand goes lower here.
Right.
You're lifting the club head.
But I need to actually delay a lot of my turning almost until I'm starting to move back.
So build the climax toward the end of the backswing.
Right. So it's more there, and then this is going to start to turn. But as this is going to really start turning, then I'm actually moving back towards my initial.
So bring the hands higher. Bring the hands higher, and then throw, and then you will be able to recenter here. Okay, throw and then recenter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see how like all of that fits together, right? It's like
But if you spin and then lift the club head here, then you lose that flow.
right. Okay, that makes sense.
So these peaks are happening early, and then you have pelvis transition, and then thorax, shoulders, but the arms and club are transitioning at the same time. This was the same in the last one.
Right. Yes, I remember that.
When you let it go around here, then you start the turning, then you will have a sequential transition. But because you intentionally do this, so your arms and club are moving together because you go high up and try to intentionally drop this and then push. So your arms and club are moving together. And then with that, the uncocking starts early, so it's at the top of action here. You know, ideally you have to delay this and then goes up here. So you have to start uncocking about here. In order to use this really well, you have to delay this. But with this motion, actually you're letting the club head go away from your body early. So in this view here, when you look at this, this is top of action. It looks like you have a large backswing here, but then after that, the club is moving up and you're letting it go away from your body. And then see your elbow is high up here and you're dropping the elbow. Look at the elbow position here. You see? Go up here and then your elbow comes here, gliding your body. Instead, from here, by just moving the elbow in front of your body and then throw, rather what's happening is you go high up here and then your elbow comes here and then push. So once you are in this position, then pushing the hands here. When you try to put a lot of effort, then your elbow always is flexed here, near the impact. So instead of, so when you have a good release motion, then almost relax this here, just to hold the stick. Okay, so using 2 or 3 fingers here. This is what you need. Have good extended arm here and then throw. Right. But instead, what's happening is coming down here and then coming this way here, you're pushing. Right. You're killing the motion of the end point. Yes. Yeah. So keep it a bit higher here. Do not drop this, but here you have an expressway from here to here. Right. Instead of? Like a very slow city street. Because you started this shadowing motion here. With this, your elbow drops here, and then try to go this way. Right. Instead of here. Let it go around. So for that, you need to keep it a bit away from your body. Yeah. So here, enough space here. On the way down, when the club is parallel to the ground, your upper arm should be more aligned vertically here. Right. That means your elbow should be in front of your body here, and then let it go. Instead of coming this way here. Yeah. You are basically intentionally killing the leverage. Right. And then try to hit it hard with your muscular efforts. And then in the downswing, the timing of a pelvis peak is reasonable, but your thorax tends to accelerate through the impact. When this happens, you don't have that much wrist angular velocity because your body is turning a lot. Mm-hmm. And then as a result, impact, and then at the late follow-through, you will see that hands are really high compared to your shoulders here. You have excessive follow-through motion here. So rather the arms come here and then you can reach that position. By throwing and then letting it go here, you can easily finish here. But you're pushing and turning the body and lift this high up here. Right. You're tall and flexible, so this is possible, but this actually puts a lot of burden on the spine. Right. We have injuries during the acceleration and also deceleration. Right. When you have a rapid acceleration or rapid deceleration, these are all injury risk factors. Right. So when you have excessive motion, then eventually you have to slow this down. That puts burden on the spine here. Right. So you're not, you don't have enough wrist motion. So this is way below the elite man's average. And then this is coming from your interaction with the ground. So you're still using the ground well, but you're pretty much using that to rotate your body rather than promoting the arm and the club motion here. Yeah. So then that brings to the issue of the way you interact with the ground. Last time I remember you had really large force and then you had too much unrating here at impact. Now a lot less unrating here. So this is good. However, let's see, let me change the,
I have a bunch of things that are off of the chart scale. That should look good. If I still have too much force.
so here, if I change the scale here to maybe 40, so you have a really long momentum here, and then the torque is also good. The force is slide over 2 times your body weight. Still is a bit too big.
Still too much.
But with this, you're generating large torque here. So let's see, 2.5 here. So you have really long momentum here at the maximum unweighting here. Okay, long momentum. With this, you have large torque. So generally, from top of backswing to early downswing, when the curve is vertical, you have good amount of torque generated.
Mm-hmm.
But according to the kinematic sequence here, that good amount of torque is generally used in turning the body, not really promoting the club
Right,
motion.
that's because what my arms are doing is like pushing the club as opposed to letting me.
And then you're turning your
So
body.
it's really like that idea of like the throwing the club. That's really getting like the ground force. That's
So-
like the getting ground force to the body.
So
to the club.
using the ground reaction force, you're generating this body turn.
Yeah.
But early part, in the first half of downswing, you are generating rotation. But then in the second half, slowing down the body, but you're promoting the arm motion and then club motion in here, particularly the club motion. But for that, your body has to slow down enough. And then, so instead of using the big portion of the torque you generate by using the body, rather you have to give it to the club here.
Right.
So then you have to promote good wrist motion, the club motion here.
Right.
And but with this good interaction with the ground here, okay, you have a good amount of torque generated by using long momentum here. However, you see the arms, the elbows are flexed here, and your body is turning together here. So most of it is used by the body, but still the club does not get enough momentum.
Right.
So this is the angular momentum.
Actually, sorry, just one question of more about the ground forces. So last time around, we talked about how I didn't use enough, I didn't generate enough ground reaction force with my trail leg.
The trail leg is okay.
And now it's
And also you have this cross, it showed X shape here.
Right.
That means at the beginning of the backswing, you have more force acting on the lead foot, which is good.
Right.
Okay, this is good. And then it crosses here, and then you have a push from the trail side, and you have this peak. After that, you have this unweighting, but I want to see more continuous unweighting here instead of
So that's going to be
is going here, and then try to have another unweighting here.
Right. So that unweighting, that's going to be if I can get
So
the
you
pelvis to recenter more earlier.
yeah, and then when you have the peak angular velocity is a bit late here. When you delay these more toward the middle of the backswing, the peak angular velocity is here, of the pelvis, thorax, and the shoulders here. And then the arms will reach peak angular velocity here. The club will reach peak angular velocity later. So you're building climax toward the end. Instead of go here and just letting the wrist go and dropping here, you actually have to throw and make a large arc here. So using the momentum you're loading onto your body here, then you can build the climax toward the end of the
Right.
backswing.
I see what you're saying.
Instead of just doing this.
Yeah.
This is angular momentum on the swing plane here. So what we can see is the body keeps gaining angular momentum here because you're working with the ground. So this is increasing. The green line is the body angular momentum. And then blue is the club angular momentum here. And then so the body reaches peak angular momentum here, and then body loses angular momentum. But you don't lose that much here. From the peak to impact, you only lose about this much angular momentum here.
Right.
And as a result, the club does not get that much angular momentum here.
I see what you're saying.
You have to keep up this. So this has to decrease quite a bit here, and then this increases.
That makes sense.
So at least the angular momentum of the club should be equal to body angular momentum,
Right.
or,
Oh, wow, okay.
but we have a big gap here
Right.
because body does not keep up too much, that much angular momentum.
That makes
Imagine, you are now older, and then your kids are now, say, around 30, and they want to start something.
Right.
As the father, if you have a lot of money saved already, then you can really help them to start something,
Right.
that they can have a jump start.
Right.
You can invest it, to your kids.
Right.
So if this is the kids, and if it's you here,
Right.
your goal is to save enough money during the early part of downswing, yeah. And then here, then you have more capacity, so you can help your kids, and you give more to your kids, then your kids will gain a lot here.
Right.
By the time you reach the impact here.
Right.
But your body gained a lot of angular momentum, but it's not really giving up much.
Right.
So that's why the club is
That makes sense. Okay.
not gaining that much.
Right.
And then with this pattern here, pushing here, it's hard to actually do that. In order to have a good angular momentum transfer from the body to the club, you have to really delay the release and then later let it go here.
Right.
You have to have enough wrist motion near the impact.
Right.
That way, the body loses because of the muscular interaction between the hands and the wrist here, this motion.
Right.
Then the club gains angular momentum, your body loses angular momentum. But if you let it go early, so the club moves away from your body early, then you don't have much wrist motion. Right. You don't have much room for wrist motion here, so it's hard to help your kids.
Right, that makes sense. Does so as I work on, because since the first time I saw you, if I look at my club, if I look at it down the line, when I've got the club here, the club has moved quite a bit more toe down than it was before I saw you.
I didn't pay attention to that.
But as I get the club more out this way, or as I might change my address position to be reaching out ahead, that's going to then move the club face back that way.
So if I watch your video, the video you sent me,
Yeah.
Watch the video. Basically, your swing looks like this. Go lift this here, drop this, and then push.
Right.
Your swing looks like that. Right. Instead of bring this high by using the body turn and bring this up here and then throw, versus.
Right. Push.
So when you try to push, your body cannot move this way here.
Right.
Because when you have to push.
Right. I'm trying to throw a ball by going like that.
So let it go and then swing through in the stand on this side here.
Right.
This motion, rather than drop too much and then try to push.
Right.
Yeah. So more than anything, you need to keep the ball away from your body.
Right.
And then you should not bring the hands too low here.
Right.
Okay? So image your plane from the ball to midsection of the trunk. So this is your swing plane. This will serve as the lower boundary of your hand motion and the club motion.
So what I imagined, like, from the ball through my belly button, or like where?
That's a bit too low. So
so
maybe your sternum here.
Okay, like base of the sternum.
So if you imagine the plane here, that this will serve as the low boundary of your hand and club motion. You don't go any below that.
Understood.
And then here you promote the good on-plane motion. Throw here instead of bring down and then push. So it's a detour.
Right.
You go up here and then you're dropping this and then try to push this detour instead of following this expressway here.
Right.
But then what causes this early dropping is you're bringing the club high and you have to drop this. You're not just dropping the club head, but with this, your elbow also drops.
Right.
But instead, if you move the hands more along the swing plane here, and then instead of lifting the club head, so throw the club head along the swing plane, then because of the anatomical limitations, later the hands has to go above.
Right.
So what's actually moving along the swing plane is the elbow here. Moving the elbow along the swing plane, and then when you have supination and the flexion of the elbow here, the hand goes above the elbow here, right? So with this throw, then naturally the club head goes now high, and then it's coming down toward the swing plane. You don't have to intentionally drop this.
Right.
If you were to go high, a bit high, and then naturally it drops, all you pay attention to is this motion on the plane rather than.
Right. Now, if the club were to get, so I'm definitely getting the club like less laid off with all of that. Do you have a big, is there like do you have a view on like if it gets across the line as I work on that? Is that okay?
It's okay, it's okay. So what you have to use well is actually pronation, supination here.
Right.
So instead of go this way and then lift this here, rather by throwing the club head, this throwing with the active supination here, it naturally brings the hands higher here. So let me demo that. If initial motion is coming from the body turn here, then you are going to this position here, or with this you are lifting the club head here. But if you have the intention of throwing this, throw the club head by using this supination motion here, then naturally the hand goes higher here.
Right.
So bring the hands higher and then let the club follow the path. Then you have this motion here. Go up and then just a little bit of natural shallowing here, and then let it go.
Right.
Versus you go here, lift this, and the intention of dropping here.
Right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So we are wasting a lot of energy in creating this motion, but rather throw and go up here.
That makes sense because I've tried very hard over, especially ever since I got better with bringing the Schern type movement into my swing. I've tried very hard to get the club to be like not so far outside my hands early, but always like within my current setup.
So practice this.
No matter
holding this, and then try to do not use the body that much, just using the wrist and the forearm here, particularly forearm supination, pronation, see how much motion you can generate. This gives a lot of range of motion. Keep the hands a bit away from your body. Yeah, from there.
That's enough.
From there, try to mainly use this motion here.
Yep.
And then this motion here. So by letting the white ball go around your body and throw this way, throw this way, throw it. Yeah, you have a good speed here.
Yeah.
You have to activate the pronation supination motion. If you don't use this, then what happens? You keep dragging here.
Oh yeah, I could kind of feel that I just want to. Yeah.
When the hand comes in all the way here, then you are basically dragging. That means you are killing the motion of the club head. Although you may feel stronger because you are pulling this thing hard here. You may feel stronger, but
Yeah, I mean,
actually in terms of
it definitely feels like my arms are more in front of me, but it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm getting the speed to actually transfer into the.
So
the same way.
when you have good pronation supination motion here, then and then also when you let the ball go, the hand go in front of your body enough here, then what happens is this motion.
Yeah, because I feel like with you, the sound is really. I feel like for you, the sound is really concentrated here, whereas when I did it, it felt like the sound was.
You have a lot of exertion motion over there.
Way.
Yeah. So when you use pronation actively, supination pronation actively, you can promote good. Yes. Yeah. And then there, your body is not moving that much.
No.
There's no exaggerated motion.
Yeah.
You're concentrating to this motion.
Yeah.
So then, intentionally you can focus on this motion, but then eventually you have to use both the body and the arms. So on one hand, you're promoting this, but also you are using your body actively with this throw here.
Right.
Then you can use both body and
Yeah.
the wrist.
And I'll go like 400 in the air or something.
Yeah, for your height, I would want to see a lot higher club speed.
Yes.
But as you can see here, your club is not gaining much
No.
momentum here. So this is maybe about twice your backswing momentum. This is not that high.
Right.
The club has to move a lot faster.
Yes, it does.
Your body has to give up more momentum here.
Yeah.
So now, have you seen the Grant weights last time?
Oh, it left an impression on me. It was like poetry in motion.
So if you look at the kinematic sequence here, he has a good delayed release here.
Right.
And the wrist angular velocity goes above man's average.
Right.
So his club angular velocity is mainly coming from the wrist angular velocity here.
Wow. Good for him. Such a generous guy. Yeah. Wow. That's wild. Okay.
So when the body reaches peak angular momentum here, okay,
Yeah.
the club still has only this much angular momentum here, but body loses momentum and then club gains momentum.
Wow.
So that means still here, from here to impact, still the whole body gains momentum from the ground, right? But this whole increase is going to the club, and also the body loses the momentum. That also goes to the club.
Right. So yes, it's the total amount. So yes, he's still using the ground to generate power, except that he's getting all of it into the club. Wow.
So if your goal is to promote the club motion, then you have to give a good investment. You have to have good investment here. Then your assets will decrease here.
Yes, that makes sense.
And then it gains, and also still the net gain by using the ground is also invested to the club here.
Right.
There's a huge difference.
Right. That is.
Yeah.
That
So in the kinematic sequence pattern, again, in this case, his peak angular velocity happens in the middle of the backswing here, and then these here, and then the arms here and the club here.
Right.
So in the backswing, throw this here, and as he starts the downswing, the club almost stays stationary here, instead of this going up high here.
Right.
So the position relative to the body almost stays there, and about here the uncocking starts.
Right.
And then swing here. So along the swing plane, now look at the club head motion. Initially, the club head is moving more or less along the swing plane here. So your hands are down here, but your hands are lifted while the club head is moving along the swing plane here. So he's lifting the hands instead of just turn and they keep the hands low and then lifting the club head. So with this throw, the club head goes high and then coming down here. And in this one, it's not layoff. Mostly it's just a parallel alignment here on the way down.
Can I just ask one question to zoom out for a moment? So typically when you see people talk about, almost always when you hear people talk about swing plane, right? They're taking like where the club is sitting at address and they're drawing a line.
That's called the shaft plane. It's not swing plane.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, because you see a lot of even like swing video getting analyzed against
the problem is Hank Haney's on plane swing, Jim Hardy's one plane swing. They assume the club comes back to the initial alignment, which is completely incorrect.
Right, because you're that much more vertical.
Your impact, swing plane is a lot steeper than the initial alignment.
Right.
So because of sometimes people have the wrong imaging,
that makes sense.
they try to create the wrong motion. You just simply ruin your swing.
Right. Because because we've talked about the idea that like the club should be above and steep to the swing plane, never below it.
So this
Never flat.
this is
So
the this is the swing plane.
And so that's the swing plane coming
Yeah,
through. the
this
base of
serves
the
as
sternum.
the lower boundary.
Right, because
Then-
I've thought of the lower boundary as like the staying above and steep to the shaft plane,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not.
So it's a still
gotta be
steeper.
Even higher and
So if you look at the initial alignment, this is the shaft plane.
wow, I have so
Your
far to
swing
go.
plane is actually a steeper here,
That makes sense.
but now this is swing plane. Then pretty much on the way down, you will see that your hands and club are staying above or on the swing plane here.
Right.
So it touch the hand. The hand touches the swing plane and then goes above here. The club comes down toward the swing plane, but it is moving along the swing plane here. So here, the shallowing is happening here.
Right.
Before he reaches top of backswing. So let the club go a bit higher, and then naturally coming down to the top position here. So here, pretty much the club maintains a parallel alignment to the swing plane. If you drop this more, it's a layoff. When you go layoff, then you have all these unfortunate events.
Right.
So keep it about here. And then on the way down, during the shallowing motion, you have to pretty much bring the hands and club together toward the swing plane instead of having the club head down quite a
Right.
bit. When the club head is too close to the swing plane, then in this process, the club head goes below the swing plane,
Right.
like in your case. And then here, simply just to throw hard and then using this motion here, and then let it go. So the wrist motion is promoted here. And then, so by the time you reach so this is a late follow through, then the club aligns vertically here. Club aligns vertically here. Look at his hand position here. This is a swing plane view. His hands are just about head high or mid shoulder high here.
Right.
In your case, the hands go high up here.
Right.
So when you really let the club go and then have good wrist motion, that there's no reason to turn the body that much.
Right.
But because your wrists are not moving that fast here, so with this, you're pushing and then you're creating this large follow-through motion.
Right.
That means your effort is more concentrated to near the impact instead of early on here. So in the kinematic sequence, you're generating good angular velocity of the body early here. So at ED, you have peaks here, and after that, the arms lose a lot of angular momentum here. Pelvis loses a lot of angular momentum here. So body loses angular momentum, and then the club gains, the wrist gains a lot of angular velocity here.
Right.
So as a result, ooh.
Yeah.
So the body loses a lot of angular momentum, and at the same time, the net gain in the whole body angular momentum, this is also invested to the club here.
Right.
So the club gains a lot more. So some people, they will show a similar level here, but he uses the wrist really well, so it goes way above the body angular momentum. But in your case, your body has too much angular momentum at impact, but not the club.
Right.
So you have to, more than anything, you have to promote good wrist motion. So you have to develop a swing plane which promotes wrist motion. And in order to use the wrist well here, move the ball more away and then have the release motion instead of drop here and then try to push.